Okay, so we got everything figured out? All right. So Link leads the way, Mink leads the way, and you all keep moving. And as you are nearing an intersection, from both sides, two guys suddenly jump out from around the corner, pointing zip guns at you. They're all wearing masks. Well, brown cloth bags with the eye holes cut out, with eyes cut out. Mink pulls that sword I showed you the picture of, and he's like, all right, just take it easy, guys. And one guy says, wait, Mink?
Me?
And Mink looks and says, Koro? The guy lifts his mask. Mink, how long has it been? Mink walks over to Koro and his partner, the guy that's standing next to him at the intersection there. We're talking the one over by building 1. Mink walks over to Koro and the guy that's with him. Mink and Koro put a hand on each other's shoulder in greeting. Mink says, what are you doing with these guys? And Koro says to him, things are changing, Mink. The gangs have been fighting over the fuse. It ain't safe to be a solo no more. And Mink, I don't know exactly how to say this. There's a price on your head. Happy Jack says you frelled him over bad. And Mink says, I know, that's why I've been away. But what I got in this case will square me with him. And more, Cack, he'll owe me. And Koro says to him, yeah, about that, Mink. I know we're friends and all, but business is business. And he points the handmade weapon at Mink. They're all free to go, but you need to come with us, Mink. A flash, a blur, flick, slice, swish. Koro's gun hits the ground, followed by a stream of blood from his hand that was holding the gun. He looks up at Mink, and blood pours from the tip of his nose. Apparently on the last slice that Mink did, he cut straight across the ball of the nose like that, and it looks like Pac-Man with his mouth open. And blood is just pouring from the tip of his nose, and Koro's mouth is hanging open. When the blood pours, his eyes open wide, his hands go over his nose, and he goes running away, with his hands on his nose and making a screaming, crying sound. He just goes running and screaming down his side street. The guy who is next to him takes one look at what Mink just did and also goes running. And Mink calls after him, and don't think I've forgotten that you owe me money, Koro! Now Mink still has the case in his right hand, the briefcase that he's been carrying. This was not at all an exertion for him. Now he looks over at the guys over by building 7 with his sword and says, all right, who's next? Yeah, they don't run. They look at each other, then they look at Mink, and one raises his gun to Mink. Mink drops the case from his right hand and sets into motion again, sprinting right at the guy with the gun pointed at him. He hits top speed within a very few steps, and then he slides at the guy like a baseball player sliding into home. This all catches the gunman by surprise, and he hesitates a half moment, which is way too long to hesitate when you're fighting Mink. The gun goes off just as Mink's boots collide at high speed with the shins and ankles of the gunman. The man screams and collapses. Mink doesn't stop when he collides with him. It's more like a twist. His sword is reversed in his hand, so he makes a move like throwing a punch, and blood appears on the guy's throat where Mink's blade just sliced through. He then spins around, coming to a stop in a 3-point stance, sword still, in his left hand. Surely no more than 3 seconds have passed since this began. He's just that quick and agile. As he begins to rise, the other guy tries to attack him from behind. Mink stomps his right foot. With a snip, a knife jumps straight up out of his boot, which he deftly plucks out of midair with his right hand. And with one smooth motion, he catches the knife and throws it back over his right shoulder. It hits the would-be attacker square in the chest, and he falls over backwards with a hoof. Mink still hasn't even left the 3-point stance he landed in. But now he stands. He turns and bends down and pulls the knife out of the dead man's chest, wipes it on his pants, and pushes it back down into his right boot. He looks at all of you and says, now that's how it's meant to be, my friends. A man faces his enemy and lets the better man win. The gun is the weapon of cowards. Bang. The second guy, who he just pulled the knife out of, wasn't dead after all. And he used his last breath to pull the trigger. Mink looks down at the large hole in his chest, and his head keeps moving, and his shoulders follow. And he collapses on the ground.
I'm gonna go over there to the second dude and just blast him.
Okay, take a bullet off. You don't have to roll for it. But yeah, that dude is now missing his face and the entire back of his head.
I think I'm going to go and pick up the briefcase.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to provide any medical, see if there's any medical assistance that can be rendered.
I can look at him, but
If
he's got a big bullet hole in his chest, I doubt there's much I can do for him.
I wouldn't call it a bullet hole. It's more like the size of a fist. You can see easily that his heart is no longer pumping.
Ah.
So there's the end of Mink.
And then,
Well, then we should probably take his sword and his knife.
yeah,
And his grappling hook.
and he's grappling.
yeah.
I'll take that one.
Okay, one thing at a time. You said you wanted to you were going to take the briefcase? You personally?
Me personally.
All right. This is the briefcase. Bardak is carrying the briefcase. Okay? Keep that in the center of the table, would you? So we always remember that Bardak has the case. Now, what do you want to loot next?
I want to take the grappling gun.
Okay, the grappling hook.
That's a good compliment to the sniper rifle.
Mmm.
Because you could go up to the top of a building,
And then just shoot.
but you only
Okay.
have 5 bullets.
Or just like swing and fire my rifle.
All right, the grappling hook. It is a thick, heavy fabric gauntlet. Okay, wraps around the arm.
Oh.
It takes you some time to figure out, I guess it's on top, how to undo. They're like little ratcheting straps. Okay, so you can get it really tight, you know. So you figure out how to undo the releases so you can get the gauntlet off. Okay. Now on the underside of this gauntlet is a large pocket that holds all of that cord. Okay. And there's kind of, I meant to get a picture, but I forgot. It's like an arrow head that shoots out of it. Okay. It's got, we'll say 3, it's like, they're like legs or fins or knife blades that come off the back of it. Okay. So it can pierce into a wall, but it could also hook onto like the edge of a ledge. Okay. So that, you find locked into a little socket in the we're gonna call it a brace. Okay, this thing is called a brace, like Kai on Lex. Okay, so we got a pointy arrow thing. The cord goes into this large bag underneath the gauntlet. The gauntlet attaches with these ratchets. You manage to get it off. I assume you like to put it on. Okay, so on your, are you gonna use your right or your left arm?
My left arm.
Okay, so I will give it to you that you figure out how to do the ratcheting thing to get it on there nice and tight, okay? So just go ahead and put, for now, put Mink's brace on left arm. All right, what else you guys taking?
His sword and knife.
One at a time. Okay, the sword is, it has a scabbard, it has a belt. Who is taking the sword?
Do you want the sword?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, so just write down short sword.
Okay.
That'll be fine. Now, as far as the knife that's in his boot.
I think, Harry, you should take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, however, it's inside of his boot. So
Take off his
so
boot.
first you would want to,
Take his boot off.
and when you take the boot off, you find that there is a metal cuff around his ankle. This metal cuff appears to be welded on. Like, this cuff don't ever come off. And yes, there's a slot with the knife in it, but no matter how hard you pull, you can't seem to get it out.
Oh boy.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Is there something in the boot that we can?
So you'll want to examine the boot then.
Yeah,
You can
I'll-
take an investigation mark, but you don't got to roll.
Okay.
Because you thought of it. There is nothing in the boot. It is just a leather boot.
Just a leather boot. What if
Maybe it's a.
pointing him kind of away from us so we don't shoot the knife out at us? Can if I like poke on different parts of his foot or?
What if we use the sword and chop his foot off? And
Okay.
slide the band off.
All right. Now remember, he did
That's
say.
pretty gruesome.
Okay. And this is something that you all want to take the time with when Mink said you guys need to get out of here quick.
Let's just run.
Yeah, I'm not.
Just take the boot.
Well, what should I do with Mink?
We should
Hand him over.
Okay, I think it's.
be done too quick.
I'm fine leaving. A knife doesn't seem worth risking
Yeah,
anything over.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now let's see here. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. Okay. Mink is dead. Does that surprise anyone? I was hoping to catch everybody by surprise. You guys are now going to have to face the fuse by yourselves.
Can we? Did he have anything on his body that would allow us to take a ship? Like keys
Nope.
to the ship.
Yeah, strangely enough, he had nothing in his pockets. This guy clearly travels light, I guess.
Okay.
So, but yeah, his ship is floating out there near Brindle. So, yeah, I figured somebody would make a note about that.
Well, the ship is gonna be there.
So should we just keep on going? Run maybe?
I hope you keep on going.
Let's
I've been
not run.
working for days on this.
I think Brownick should take the lead with his
With his sweeper.
sweep. Well, he's got the sweeper and the sword.
Yeah, yeah. The boarding submachine gun, that's what it's called. Okay, well, we're actually 15 seconds from the pop, and and then, I need the charger for my Chromebook, for crying out loud. And then, yeah, it looks like we're only going to get in 1 or 2 segments of the actual mini game. So there's a bio break there, and yeah, we've already got our next session planned, that's for sure.
Cut apart.
Because that's what I've planned on doing to mine.
Just
We
replace
keep this
it. Replace
baby.
it with a bionic foot.
Yeah, yeah. No tendons,
Nothing to go wrong, right?
right?